What's up? What's up? What's up? Grace and peace, everyone. Happy Friday, TGIF. Those who are celebrating Shalom. So anyway, just want to jump on and talk to you guys about some current events. Hold on, because let me just fix this music really quickly. We have some nice music playing in the background. Some get up and go music. I'm gonna just turn that down real quick. All right. All right, I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit. So anyway, where is this all? So now I can't see I'm not going to blame it on Mercury retrograde, even though we're in the cusp of it. April 21st, we're going to be in full-fledged Mercury retrograde. For those that believe in that. But, all right. See, I can't see the comments really quickly, so let me just go here. Okay. Pardon me, guys. Just give me 1 second. Maybe I should do this. So today's topics, I got about 4 things that I wanted to discuss really quickly, or not, depending on how I get into the flow of things. But the first thing that I wanted to talk about was everything that's been in the media right now, as far as with the Cash App and you know, how this is looking, how this is going to look. Now, disclaimer, fair use, all right, copyright 1976. This is all for entertainment purpose, but some educational purposes as well, criticism and etc. See, so hold on, just give me like 60 seconds, a minute, because what I'm gonna do is just do this really quickly, because somehow I can't see certain things right now on this screen, so it's giving me a little agita, if you will. That's Yiddish for upset. It's New York Yiddish. New York Jewish Hasidic. Okay, anyway. Yeah, because I'm trying to see what's happening here on my end is that I can't see the comment section so well. And I can't see if there's anybody up on the, on the viewer. So I don't know what happened here. Let me see something, but just bear with me again, guys. Let's see. Show the chat. All right, we'll do that. Okay, so anyway, like I was stating before, so I wasted like a good almost 8 minutes on trying to get my act together. I apologize. This was kind of an impromptu. I wasn't really going to talk about anything. Plus, also here in New York City, and pretty much the tri-state area, it's spring break. And so, that means the kids are home from school. My little one is here. So I'm that's why I have to go according to schedule, her schedule, and everybody else's schedule in the household. So therefore, I couldn't do a midweek check-in, but I did a full moon reading. Okay, so we're talking about Foxy Moon premieres, right? And and I didn't do a mindful Monday. That's because I wasn't really in the sorts of doing that. But anyway. So I may not be on regularly for the next week because it is the break. And so therefore I am just going to kind of just be posting more so than coming on live. But today, it is for some who are religious, they're observing Passover, they're observing Good Friday, they're observing Ramadan. And so I'm going to talk about that and then bring us into the current events, because that's something that's part of this current events. And even if you're not even if you're not a religious person, or you are a skeptic and you don't believe that certain things play along in the stars, if you will, in the galactic planes, just know that certain things is really not it's not a coincidence, but it is a coincidence. And therefore things could seem a little peculiar now because we're in this energy. All right. As I talked about just a few seconds ago, that we are in also a full moon. Okay, so I'm gonna just dive into that a little really quickly. And disclaimer, I am not a astrologer or astronomer, and therefore I am not proclaiming myself to be so knowledgeable in regards to alignments and things of that nature. I research to some extent, pretty much I see, there are some astrologers, numerologists that I do follow and I get my information from. And so therefore I apply it to what I know it to be. But for the most part, I'm not an astrologer. Those that are new to the channel, I do read tarot cards, channel that energy that way. But everything else, I mean, it's pretty much secondhand. I'm not really sitting there studying the way the planets are aligned and so forth and so on. My stuff is more intuitive. It's more God sense, really, which is common sense. So since I can't play my music in the background, I'm just going to play some meditation music here for us. Because we want to be zen. We want to be peaceful with this energy. We, again, like I said, we're in a high holy week, but we're also in a high holy month for those who, observe this these religious holidays. Again, shalom to those, that are celebrating Passover, Ramadan, assalamu alaikum, and all that good stuff. I greet you in peace. I come in peace, and there's no ill will of what I'm saying. Again, disclaimer, 1976, the Copyright Act. So I'm just going to be talking about what this full moon in Libra energy is. right? But I'm going to dive into how this is playing along with the current events that we have. And there is no coincidence, but it's coincidental that some of the things that have been passed within the past 4 or 5 days started on the 4th, which was Tuesday. Tuesday, from what I know it to be, is the day of, it's ruled under Mars. And Mars is the planet of war. So it's no coincidence that Donald Trump went into court. There's no coincidence that this BRIC took place, which almost like solidified what happened with the Cash App founder. So, and also disclaimer, I am not a political historian or professor in that respect, and I don't know a lot of political and economic jargon. So, forgive me if I sound a little illiterate. I'm just the outsider looking in. And if I am saying something that is out of misquote or misterm, please, put it in the chat or put it in the comments and, enlighten me, enlighten us, because that's what we're here for. We're here to learn and really, it's inside my mind. So these things are just wheeling along in my mind. All right. So current events. And forgive me if I can't see the chat, guys, because for some reason the way the way this was set up, the way I set it up, for some reason, it's not allowing me to see my chats. Okay, so I'm not ignoring anyone. All right, so salute to everybody coming through. Again, shalom, assalamu alaikum, all that good stuff. Happy Good Friday. All right. The full moon in Libra. So Libra is the sign of justice, right? Again, no coincidence that Donald Trump went into the courts on Tuesday for his alleged allegations of misconduct while he was in office, which is weird because it's saying that he was giving hush money. I have all this stuff, all right, and I also have my little notes. So some of it is freestyle, some of it is stuff that I wrote down. All right. But again, when we're talking about this full moon in Libra, we're talking about justice. We're talking about truth. We're talking about balancing the scales. Right. So again, it's no coincidence, or is it a coincidence? And I don't want to call myself a conspiracy theorist. But the Cash App founder, it again, Tuesday is when he was deleted off the face of the earth, right? Got to be careful with some of our words that we use on here. For all intents and purposes, we're going to be using different phrases, right? So again, there's no coincidence with the full moon and the founder and CEO of Cash App. So the full moon is bringing this harmony, if you will, this balance, this number 6, right? Because 6 is harmony, it's balance, it's righting the wrong, it's shifting the discord that's going on. So again, it's no coincidence. Now, I also was watching, so that's one that's talking about Trump. The second thing was talking about the founder of Cash App. The next thing, which is not maybe so major and really probably didn't hit mainstream media just yet, is the 3 young men that deleted, right? We're using that word. The rapper XXXTentacion. Now, I don't claim to know his music like that. At all, rather. I know just one song, and I like it. It resonates with me. And I know that he was no saint, but I also know that he was also a kid at the end of the day. And when you're young, you've had a hard life, and then you go into this limelight and success. It can shift the balance, right? Throw the scales off to now you're acting out. Now, granted, he might have been doing some stuff before he became famous that was not morally right. But from watching his documentary on one of the streaming platforms, he was on the precipice of shifting and change and fixing his scales, if you will, of becoming. And yes, he had to do some time, and he was incarcerated because of his misconduct. And he started to realize that, I gotta shape up. And that's what he was doing. He was enlightening people, as well as how the industry, especially the music industry, they're changing the frequencies. This is 2018. This young man, he was 20 years old talking about this. How the music industry is purposely changing some frequencies and some hertz in their music for various reasons. I'm not going to go into all of that. You guys can read between the lines. You can read up on him. But why I'm talking about him, because again, justice was served. Thursday, I was watching and I didn't realize that the sentencing would be so quickly. But just in this week again, guys. And so full moon energy is 3 days up to the day of the full moon, the day of, and then 3 days after. So that energy is about a week long. It can maybe even be a week before the actual event. And whether his court case was by design to book it when it was a full moon in Libra, I don't know. I don't want to say that the court system in Florida was that savvy and did the sentencing on that day. I'm not going to try to go that deep, right? But some people can. Some people will go all outside the box, and that's where the conspiracy theory starts to kick in and stuff like that. I mean, whatever happened leading up to his death, the way that he went out was horrific and sad, and that's one of his songs that I like. And why his case has affected me so much is because I have a son that age, who's now would have been the age that extension would have been, or Jase. And I also have empathy for wayward children. I was a wayward child. I had one. And therefore, when I see young children acting out, and especially for boys, there's something. I feel emotional now. I'm about to cry. I don't want to cry, but his case really did something for me. It really got me emotional, and I did watch some of the trial. It was intense. It was sad. It did make me cry, because I'm looking at it from a mother's lens, not a fan, not a person who's nosy to watch court cases and crime stories, but from a mother who has a son that age, who, while no, my son didn't do half of the stuff that young man was doing as far as misconduct, nonetheless, I've been through my trials and tribulations. And so his story, his case did something to me. So I watched the sentencing, which was just about an hour long, and it wasn't even that long. The sentencing was about a good 5 minutes, but there was a break in between. There were family members that spoke out on behalf, and all of them, with the exception of one, has life. In Florida, there's no parole. So, excuse me, guys. There's no parole. So they're 25 now. That means they'll be in there till they're 45 and better. One, because he violated on, and I'm not legal. All right, disclaimer, not a legal professional. I didn't even bring my legal dictionary book out, my law book. But one, because he violated. Now, I know a little bit about court because I've been in the courts for, not me personally, like I did something, but I've been in the courts, civil and criminal. And I even had to do grand jury service back in October. So I know a little something about something, and I can understand most of what the attorneys and what the case was about. So I just want to put that out there. But one of the defendants, I guess if you want to say that, I want to call them criminals because that's what they are. One violated his something that he had going on, and added to this homicide case. He's going to be doing consecutive. So he has 30 years already with the violation plus this life. He's 25. He's pretty much going to, be deleted, if you will. He's going to die in jail. And I figured that they would get life because what they did was, you can see all the evidence. There was no, the evidence, the trial was to convict these guys, not to pull all the pieces together to figure out, who orchestrate. They did orchestrate things, acting in concert, which is another legal term. I don't know if they use it down there, but up in the state of New York, they use which pretty much is guilt by association, but it's acting in concert. So you're just as guilty as the person who actually did the crime. Now, your offense may not be as great as the actual offenser. I'm making that word up. You guys know this. But they were acting in concert. So they were acting all together. Now, what we don't know is who really knows the details, who really knew that Extension was going to take money out besides his family. Like, that's not what the case was about. But, that in my head, I'm like, well, what's going on? And then they tried to get an affidavit to Drake, so it was like, it was trying to tie the music industry into it. So it didn't stick, but that wasn't what they're trying to convict these guys of. It's not the conspiracy of a crime. It's to actually convict people who did the crime. All right. So I watched that on Thursday, and I spoke to my son about it because, we talk about, again, he's 25 and he's into, all the rappers and rapping and things of that nature. And so I have these conversations and, telling him, what happened. So I digress on that. Was bringing up that the court case of the sentencing happening on Thursday. Thursday was actually the full moon. All right. That's when the moon was at its fullest. It was at its peak. And again, it's almost no coincidence that justice was served for the little late rapper XXX. All right. So moving on to the fourth topic, and I'm going to talk about that a little more into depth. Is this BRICS, BRICS, which is an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And I'm getting this out of the IndianTimes.com. So fair use, fair use, fair use. Now, what we don't know while we're watching Trump and some of us are rooting for him to go to jail and we're being distracted by everything under the sun, some of us are not hip to the game that there's countries uniting together to drop the United States as far as currency. They're tired of the bullying. They're tired of the strongholds. And so a year ago, they band together to usher in their own way of getting currency. Also, currency is derived from the moon, which is current. The currency, the waves, and the time. That's really where all that is coming from. If you look up the etymology of what currency is, it's coming from that. The current, everything back in 1400s, everything was done by through the seas. So a lot of embargoing, shipment, imports, exports were going coast to coast. And through that, they made deals and trades through overseas, right? I don't want to get too deep again because I'm not a political historian in that respect. So, I don't want to get into certain things like wars and the wars, because history has a thing of repeating his and herself. So this sounds like it's a recipe for one of those type of things. So on April 4th, hold on a second, guys. Just as I get good, hold on a second. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit about on the article of what BRICS is. Okay, again, it's the acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Now, what's going on here, guys, is that they want to not have to deal with Britain and not have to deal with the US. So the euro is going down the tubes, and so is the dollar, the US dollar. And they're banding together, if you will, to make things happen amongst themselves. Now, here's the story. All right, so they are in the process of creating a new medium of payments established on a strategy that does not defend the dollar or the euro. And also, really quick, an insert, just put a pin right there. The Cash App founder was found, unresponsive, laying in the street from an alleged attack. I'm paraphrasing. You guys know what happened. If you don't, please read it. In California. Now, just as that happened, 2 days later, we hear that the U.S. Reserves is going to roll out their own kind of Cash App PayPal in July. I'm going to piggyback even more. Some people are like, oh yeah, the dollar's going to fall. And they're almost like champion for this stuff. They're like Babylon fall. What you don't understand, guys, as much as we loathe being in the United States, it's going to affect your generations. You're not going to see this come right away. But if we're supposed to be doing things for the future. And that's what these people are doing. Don't think for 1 minute that these people are sleeping. And they're not worried about astrology. They have it all mapped out. And I'm not going to bash. I'm putting myself in this category. Sometimes we now I'm going on my tangent, so excuse me. Let me just flow. But as the past couple of years, some of us have used astrology to blame a lot of things on mishaps and misfortunes, right? Oh, it's a full moon. Oh, it's the now those are big things. The full moon, the lunar eclipses, the solar eclipses, because those are big, huge things that ancestors looked at and followed along with. This new thing about, listen, I didn't know what my rising and moon sign was until like 5-6 years ago. It's all news to me. This is all new. What I did know was I was born in July. I'm a Cancer. Who's compatible with that sign? I didn't know what time I was born. I mean, I didn't look at my birth certificate. Like, we weren't doing that stuff back in the days. And yes, there were books that are put out, and yes, there were people doing that. But again, history has a way of repeating itself. And so you had the hippie era where everybody was into that, the new age and gurus, and you get your cults, all right, your David Koresh's, your Jim Joneses. Like, look at all of that. And it's happening again. Not to the extent of people are following in like that type of setting, but when we're aligning ourselves with certain people on social media, we're following them. And it almost is cult-like. Okay. So our ancestors use the heavens, if you will, to guide them and navigate them again through waters. It was all science. It wasn't, she was born on Tuesday, she's, Capricorn, and I'm in line with that. No, like they weren't that deep about it. It was, how do I get my harvest? When it rains, when the moon comes, they were thinking that the eclipses were wolves and stuff chasing the sun. I mean, they had their own thing going on, the Mayans and the natives. So think about that concept. To now, we're talking about Saturn returns, Mercury retrograde. Like, we don't really know what the hell that is. And truth be told, I don't even really know if those planets. Now, hear me out, guys, because I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite, but it's only because I'm questioning everything every day. And that's how you know that you're learning and you're thinking. That's how you know you're an intelligent person. Because I'm like, man, how do I really know that these planets are out here? Sure, NASA is telling us and showing us with the big, telescopes. But how the hell can y'all see all the way out to Saturn? How y'all can see Venus, but you can't see the depths of the ocean? Like, they can only go but so far. But you got high-tech telescopes to let us know that. Guys, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, but I am. I'm going to be a hypocrite right now because, I roll with that whole thing. I roll with it. But then common sense starts to set in. And then I'm questioning, like, how do they all get this figured out that Saturn is in my 5th house? And that's affecting my relationships. I don't know what the 5th house. I think relationships is the 5th house, but I don't even know. Like, I don't, because some things are past my pay grade. Like, I don't get too deep into that, because at the end of the day, it really, there's other things that predict around you other than, what time you were born. And listen, it could be the way you were raised. It's your culture. It's not just, you were born, a Taurus, and just why you're stubborn. Yes, those are traits and characteristics. And we could say, like, we go back to talking about Trump. Oh, Trump's a Gemini, so he, how them Geminis do. Me, I'm always going off on Pisces. You know how the Pisces people are. But our ancestors weren't on that type of time. Like, they really weren't. They didn't say nothing about no Mercury retrograde. They didn't say nothing about Saturn returns. They didn't say nothing about Mars. Like, everything was more about sun, moon, and stars. North Node, like they knew about how to navigate that way. But when we start going into things like it's Mercury retrograde, things are going to start acting up. And listen, 100 years ago, people didn't have the technology that we have right now. So how was it retrograding then for them? Like half the people didn't have telephones in their household. So that's what I'm saying. Like some things we gotta like really, some things we really gotta put some of that to bed and really look at reality. Because this wave that we're in is causing some escapism. It's causing us to get caught up in a hype of let me see what today's horoscope is. Let me see if this aligns with me. And I don't read the horoscopes. I sometimes go to see what other readers are talking about, but I don't get too hung up on that, because it gets you caught up and it puts you into like this cult setting. Now you're fixated. But this reader said that things are going to turn this way. And I feel like if you're not getting personal readings, I'm not going to say that certain things don't resonate. Just like with me, some things may not resonate with people. So they're going to be like, I don't know about all that. And that's fine. Because that's what you should be doing. You should be like, I don't know, and question it. Right? And so I'm speaking now I'm speaking as Foxy's in Foxy's mind, not Foxy premieres the channeler, because I have to put my common sense into it sometimes and get for real. Because it's all encompassing. It's not just one thing. You cannot just say, oh, because it's, the full moon and da 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 da. You know what I mean? But that's not to say that energy doesn't exist. It's the balance. It's that Libra energy is what I'm trying to bring forth to us. Like we have to balance certain things out. And a lot of people are getting bewildered, behooved by trying to find something that they can connect with, because reality is escaping them. And you got a lot more escapism now than you did 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Escapism 100 years ago, 200 years ago was reading a book and getting lost in that. Daydreaming about how you can be down with Moby Dick and get into the seas again. But certain things we just have to make it make sense in a realist, almost pessimistic kind of way. And I feel like I'm that type of person. I'm the realist pessimist. Like I have to, and that's one of my what they call shadow issues, or whatever my issue is I think the negative first. Because if I get a better outcome than that, I'm surprised and I feel good. But I always think no first. And that's a bad trait. You should think positive. You should. But I've always been like that since I was a kid. Maybe it's a defense mechanism, not wanting to hear no. Because no is such a harsh word to some people. It was to me. My parents said no. It's rejection. You don't want to hear rejection. So you know what? I'm going to psych myself up now. Rejection sounds real good. So rejection is going to be my pillar. It's going to be my anchor, because you can't get any lower than that. And then if the outcome is different and it's a positive thing, you feel elated. You feel real good. Like, yes, I'm not the one that's like, yeah, the cockiness where it's like, I could beat anybody. I'm not in that life. But kudos to people who have that type of confidence and they don't ever let certain things get them down. That can be a defense mechanism as well. See, so it's the opposite, and there's the balance. So while somebody could be like, yeah, I'm the best rapper, I'm the best actress, I'm the best athlete, I'm the best writer, and then you start seeing a decline in certain things, you start getting heartbroken because you really out here thinking you the best. And there's really a small marginal of people who are the best, what they say the greatest of all time. Not everybody is that. And that's also what society wants to have us to be now. Oh, you get an award for participation. You get an award now for no. What happened to first, second, and third? Bronze, gold, and silver. What happened to that? You want to make everybody an equal, but no, everybody is not equal. My level of intelligence may not be so grand as somebody else's, or mine may be a little more superior, but I didn't get awards like that all the time. I was surprised when I did get awards, like, oh, word, I did something in school that got me an award. Like, it's participate, like putting your effort into it. I'm not no valedictorian. I didn't strive to do that. I'm like, as long as I can just get my grades in and pass and move on to the next grade, well, I'm Gucci slides. Not to say that we weren't high achievers, and education in my household was key, is key, but we weren't like, listen, you can't get an A, at least get a 65 and pass that class. You know what I'm saying? And it's almost like settling for just settling. But listen, all right, I'll go back now. We're going back to BRICS. All right, so Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So they're in the process of creating a new medium for payments established on a strategy that does not defend the dollar or the euro. Chairman of Russia's state reportedly indicated that the new currency would be secured by gold and other commodities such as rare earth elements. Gee, wonder what that sounds like, i.e. crystals. So while the claim is yet to be verified by other officials from the member of nations, it came just a few days before South Africa sent senior officials to Russia to discuss the recalibration of the global order. Ooh, what does that sound like? Scales, recalibrating. Okay. And this article came out on the 4th. Okay. A lot of stuff happened on the 4th. So that was 4/4/2023. All right. So it says here they were discussing the recalibration of the global order with President Putin's party. South Africa is slated to host the BRICS summit in August. All right, that's South Africa. Everybody's chiming in. Y'all don't. We got to do our research, our homework on South Africa, right? What, apartheid just ended? What, in the 80s, 90s? Mm-hmm. China is in Africa right now. Okay. The new currency could reduce the world's dependence on the US dollar and the euro, according to reports from the Russia state-owned news agency Sputnik. Again, I'm reading out of the IndiaTimes.com. Check this out. Listen to this, guys. The new currency could reduce the world's dependency on the US dollar. Do you understand that the US is such a stronghold? And people are like, yeah, let it collapse. Like, you know, I'm in comment sections and people are just like, and it's not, you don't want to do the fear mongering, but there's a lot of fear mongering going on out here. But you have to understand the political game of this. The U.S. has been a stronghold for a very long time. They have been a dominant superpower for a very long time. The flip side of this is that the U.S. can sustain itself. We have a lot of the resources that the other countries are so-called going to be looking to do as their means of currency. We have this resource. The fear mongering and the fear campaign comes into play when we hear about the water contaminations in states, when we hear so-called food shortages, forgetting that we're one of the world's greatest in agriculture. And I'm not only talking about the United States, I'm also including South America and Central America. Where do you think all those beautiful exotic fruits come from? It's sure not coming from man-made factories in China. Where are you getting your dragon fruit from? South America. Where are you getting your coconuts from? The Caribbean islands. That's what I'm not going to say I'm not worried, but I understand that we can be sustainable on our own as well. And going back to Donald Trump, when he was coming into office, he mentioned and stated in his campaign and while he was in presidency, really before he got into presidency, during his campaign, that he wanted to bring the resources back to the states. He wanted to take the finances out from places like China and bring it back home. Now, I'm not batting for him. I don't fall into those type of arenas. But we got to pay attention. We got to listen. And before this president that's in here now got in, who was under another presidency, who has a not so great track record in his second term, but because he was the great black hope, we fell under the spell that he was going to help the black people out. And we're using the term black today because that's what the campaign was about, right? What was his slogan? Keep hope alive. No, that was Jesse Jackson. Something about hope. What he was the great white hope, because he was doing other people great service, but putting the so-called black person. All right. Last week, meaning so from the 4th, when this article was written, so the week before, which was the first week of this high holy month, last week, Russian President Putin adopted a new foreign policy that put India and China at the forefront. Now, we don't hear too much about India, which is very peculiar, that there's this incorporation with India. The announcement also came days after Chinese Premier Xi Jinping visited Moscow to further cement the no limits in quotes partnership announced last year. Furthermore, as per a Bloomberg report earlier today, we're still talking about on the 4th, China's yuan has replaced the US dollar as the most traded currency in Russia. The yuan, I know I'm saying it wrong, surpassed the dollar in monthly trading value in February for the first time. And the difference became more pronounced in March. This is all within this year, guys. We just tapped into the year. We're 4 months in the fiscal year. We're 4 months in. And this was what they're doing. While some of us are worried about other things that are really not on this scale, not on this magnitude. According to data compiled by Bloomberg based on a daily transaction reports from the Moscow exchange. So listen, Russia is like, listen, we're tired of being the little brother. We're going to be the big bear that we are. And, you know, not for nothing, like him or hate him or like him, Trump and Putin, we used to crack jokes, and I say we, some of us, me included, was like him and Putin are BFFs. Like that's his little buddy. Putin, each other was in each other's pocket. Everything was kept at bay. Why? Because these foreign countries look at America as a business. They know it's a business, but we don't. We're getting caught up in our feelings about how the race thing is taking precedence. Not that it's not a problem, but these people are talking currency. They don't care what color you are. They conduct business, trade, exchange, etc., and don't know what color you are. They don't care. You got the money? Let's go. But we're getting caught up in he's a racist. He's a racist. They don't care about this. They don't da. Trump said it. I don't care about that. Let's do business. Whether he was a prosperous businessman or a failed businessman, the foreign policies was looking like, because this man's got money. They weren't worried about what he was saying on social media. No, we, the Americans, the states, was worried about, oh, he's saying something racist. Oh, he's talking about grab the coochie. Now he's in court because of the same type of thing when it's really about money. Because what they're trying to get him on is almost like embezzlement. And that's federal. That's an issue. While you're in but he said it. I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman. So I don't care about what his moral conduct does not sway me either way. It really doesn't. He's just the forefront. He's really what America is. And if you want to get catty, he's white American. But then he's like, listen, my family they were Germans. And we talked about this on the last live of the 100 Amazing Facts of the Negro by J.A. Rogers. Germans were brought over here as slaves. His family was brought over here and they were slaves. When we start getting caught up in the whole color thing, it throws us off and it keeps us away from the real important thing. So what, you're not going to do business because this person's skin color? Stop. Then don't do business. That's fine. But the world is shaking and moving. And we're getting caught up on the micro level of it. Going back to the Cash App. Now I'm getting goosebumps because I'm starting to channel. Going back to the Cash App. I knew something was amiss because last year it was ironic. And I've been with Cash App for just a couple of years. So I don't really know the whole intricates about none of these real PayPal and things like that. No, PayPal was like, I want to say like the father of it all, of online exchange. It takes the banker out, right? So last year or the year before, I might be mixing the years up, but it's just within the past 3 years, this for sure. The IRS in the States put out a memo, if you will. Anybody making over a certain amount on PayPal, you got to now report that to the IRS. And I want to say it was like 600. Cash App had to follow along. And I remember that because I was like, dang, not that I fit that bill, not that I'm in that category, but ooh, how's that going to work for the small businesses? Because I consider myself as a small business. And hearing some people chanting when you know damn well you're using Cash App and you talking about let it all fall, like basically let it all burn. I'm like, oh, okay. How are you then going to conduct business? Because these people out there in China, Russia, India, let's just put it to you this way. It's Eurasia, right? Plus South Africa. And then we got Brazil. So they're incorporating South America, right? They have these resources that they can go ahead and dig. They're doing it. China's in Jamaica now. They've been there for the past 5, 6, maybe 7 years with the aluminum, digging in my motherland. That's a gold mine over there. You know that? That's a gold mine. And they know it. But you talking about, oh, let the states burn. Let it all fall down. I get you. But at the same time, not all of us are privy enough to go off what they call the grid and get to the resources. Yep, babes. Love you. Text me when you get down. We're not privy to that. So, maybe call it me being in my emotions. But I'm like, a lot of us are using Cash App. So what they're going to do is get rid of those top tiers, the Cash App, the PayPal, the Zelle. We just saw that certain banks, Silicon Valley or Seminole or whatever that is out in California, we already saw that the stuff started closing or shutting down. Okay, so that's federal. Now you're saying we don't need the federal. We don't. But until we can get to where these people are playing ball, we got to shut our mouths. We got to dribble. Just shut up and dribble. Shut up and dribble. That sounds condescending, racist. But at this point, we're not in the luxury to tap dance anymore. We're not. So Cash App founder what's his name? Bob Lee. Not Bob. Is it Bob Lee? Bob Lee. That's such a like generic name. But Bob Lee had Cash App. That was a gold mine. Here's why. So, like I said, within the past 3 years, the IRS says whatever you're making over a certain capita is ours, right? All right. So then that's when my feelers went up. My antennas went up because I said, that doesn't sound good. Because I knew that Cash App, PayPal, and Zelle are the cookie cut of the banks. You don't have to do commerce in the banks like that. Here's number 2 with the antennas going up. Within last year, they signed where you can start doing stocks. No, I'm lying. Bitcoin. A couple of years before that, you could sign up with stocks. And this year, they rolled out, you could do your taxes all on Cash App. So yeah, that man was a problem. Because this is exchanged personally. This is, you Cash Apping me, I'm Cash Apping you. And the exchange is none the wiser because I don't got to, the bank is involved because your cards or whatever is linked to it. But you don't have to do the traditional banking and money exchange in that respect. So yeah, that was a problem. He was a problem. Now come to hear that in July, Cancer season, which is ruled by the moon, again, currency, not trying to bring it into astrology, but they play like that. They play those games. I'm just going to get a few things that I have. All right. So banks from 18 countries have permitted an open special Vastro repo accounts, which is SVRS. This is coming from the Indian Compass, for setting payments in India. So rupees, excuse me. Banks from 18 countries have permitted to open a special setting payments for Indian rupees. When have we ever heard India on the map like that? Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Fiji, Germany, Guyana, Guam, Israel, Malaysia, Myanmar, New Zealand, Russia, Singapore, Sri Lanka, and the United Kingdom. These are the 18 countries that India has done because it's conducting business so that they can do their exchange with the rupees. And their rupees are going to hold weight than the euro and the dollar. Japan breaks from the United States and allies. This is wealth.com. Japan breaks from the United States and allies, commits to buying Russian oil above price cap. Guys, this is not about the skin that you're in. This is straight up, you got resources, let's talk. Saudi Arabia, there's always been a war for that resource out there. Oh, and guess what? Texas got that oil too. Heaven forbid that we really get into what they call a war. I don't want to put that into the atmosphere, but it's almost foreseeable because there's going to be this fight and this exchange. And some people are not going to bow down to certain things. As I just said earlier, United States has been a stronghold, a big brother, a strong arm, a chokehold to other countries. World War II, who do you think was funding supplies? You think Germany was really, yeah, they had their stuff together. But who was doing the business? Who was sending the tanks? Who was supplying the trains for Hitler to go take the Jewish people to the camps? Who were your businessmen back then? I don't want to do the conspiracy thing, but there is links to them. Ford was giving the motors and the tanks. Don't sit there and let us believe that the foreign policies was doing. We got our hands dirty. Then they did the draft because the World War II vets dying out. I almost wanted to say we created, but we didn't. But we were part of another war. The Vietnam. Again, we had no business there. And that was one of the most detrimental between World War II and the Vietnam War. Those were the two most heinous, horrific wars that soldiers had to go and endure. And then the Gulf War. Because they were part of something that they really thought, I'm going to serve my country. I'm going to protect my country. And when you get out there, it's a whole nother ballgame. I never served in the military. I'm a product of servicemen from the British to the Americans. Navy, Army, and my great-grandfather was in the British Army. So I salute them. But I also understand that a lot of it is propaganda. And people were losing their lives for certain things that didn't fit the bill. Because not knowing that this country also has their hands dirty, allegedly, with certain heinous acts. So what else? Hold on, let me go into Instagram and then I'm just gonna. So salute to everybody. Again, my chat is I can't see the chat because the way I had set this up, I don't know. I really don't. So if you're in the comment section and you're saying something, I apologize. I can't see it. But we're talking about the current events that are taking place right now, especially this whole BRICS, especially. Yeah, because that's something very serious that is not really being talked about. And there's no coincidence why it's not being talked about. So hold on a second. Let me, because I saved some things as well. Okay, hold on a second. All right, let's see here now. So that new system that the U.S. Federal Reserve is going to be rolling out in July is called the FedNow. It sounds even weird. Like, what? And it's launching its own Cash App, in parentheses, called FedNow in July. This is a movement towards getting rid of physical money and having digital currency. Okay. This is coming out of Earn Your Leisure. The Federal Reserve is developing the FedNow service, a safe and efficient instant payment infrastructure that will modernize the U.S. payment system and enable financial institutions of all sizes to offer customers the ability to send and receive money in near real time, around the clock, 365 days. It says FedNow. I don't know if y'all can see it. Look at this. You see that? 24/7, FedNow. All right. Ooh. Also, Finland, nobody's talking about this, but out of BBC, again, fair use. Finland officially joins NATO. Finland has become the 31st member of the NATO Security Alliance. The move means length of Russia's borders with NATO member states has now doubled. Again, nothing is by coincidence when it comes to these people. As far as, think about Ukraine. That's been going on for 1.5 years, almost 2 years. Here we see Finland saying, listen, we're going to lengthen the Russian borders and we're joining up with NATO. So that joining the alliance means if Finland were invaded or attacked, all NATO members, including the US, would come to its aid. Finland joining the security alliance is a setback for Russian President Vladimir Putin, who reportedly complained of NATO's expansion before his invasion of Ukraine. This is coming out of the BBC News. Finland is a small country in comparison. So they're like, listen, these people, Russia's coming for them. Russia's coming for places, people, and things. They're not trying to hear about all this other stuff that people are talking, like the nonsense. Also, I don't know if you guys heard this coming out of The Guardian. Nigerian politician, his wife, and a doctor guilty of organ back and forth through to UK. You can figure that word out in between. The senior Nigerian now look at this. Look at this. All right. Look at that. The senior Nigerian politician, his wife, and a doctor have been convicted of organ, in first verdict of its kind under the Modern Slavery Act. Elk Iwermadu, 60, a former deputy president of the Nigerian Senate, his wife Beatrice, 56, and Dr. Obina Obete, 51, were found guilty in facilitating the travel of a young man to Britain with a view to his exploitation after a 6-week trial at Old Bailey. They criminally conspired to bring the 21-year-old Lagos street trader to London to exploit him for his kidney, the jury found. The man, who cannot be named for legal reasons, has been offered an illegal reward to become a donor for the senator's daughter after kidney disease forced her to drop out her master's to film in Newcastle University, a court heard. All right. In February 2022, the man was falsely presented to a private renal unit at Royal Free Hospital in London as Sonia's cousin in a failed attempt to persuade medics to carry out 80,000 pounds transplant. For a fee, a medical secretary at the hospital acted in a Igbo translator between the man and the doctors to help try to convince them that he was an altruistic donor, the court heard. The prosecutor, Hugh Daves, KC, told the court that the Ikweremandus and Obeta had treated the man and offered potential donors as disposable assets, spare parts for reward. They said they entered an emotionally cold commercial transaction. All right, I'm not going to go any more further. There's more stuff, but you guys can go to The Guardian and read this. This was back in February that this case came out, but in March is when the Guardian, the article, wrote this. And again, it's so you know, a lot of nefarious things are going under the radar, and it's getting a little more auspicious and peculiar by the moment. I think was it in Haiti? Where the heck is me back? But it was in South Africa that the president was deleted. A country out in Africa. So listen, there's these things that are happening, guys, and it's just really peculiar, and it makes us think, what is going on? What is going on? So with that, you know, I'm pretty much done. I was going to have an open panel. The panel is still open, but you know, it's just I wanted to have this conversation because it really, you know, I have offered solutions, like as far as offering, you know, resources in the respect of, you know, buying silver or buying gold, and giving you a website to, you know, do that. Also, as far as like with stocking up your supplies at home and things like that. So I've given some small things. I don't have it all. I don't have, you know, all the solutions. I'm just one person. But, you know, collectively, when we think about these things, we can come up with multiple solutions. And, you know, it may not be for public display and public ears. But, you know, just some things that are common sense that we should be doing moving forward, because again, we're just this is a weird, like, it is a calm before the storm kind of thing, and they're just gearing us up. They're really, you know, gearing us to pump the brakes. And you know, that whole thing with the Cash App really was like, oh, for me, because. And, you know, and again, I'm like, most people use Cash App. Like, it's no thing to say Cash App me now. People, I got to hear on my scroll. People on YouTube are doing that. And if the U.S. reserves are going to be rolling out something for Cash App, like a Cash App, and they just got rid of the founder, let's try to put dollars and cents to this and make it make sense. Because that's sounding like everything is going to be all one. Somebody had mentioned in the comments that, and I don't know how true it is, but if they succeed and really implement this Fed now U.S. reserve, it's going to get tricky when we start making moves state to state. I mean, there's already certain things that are redlined in the states. Like you can't, like I just said with Florida, there's no parole. So they give you life, that's it. Here in the Empire State, you get a parole. According to your condition, whatever, is going on. But if they do this U.S. Reserve Fed now thing, how is that going to look? I mean, and then some notion is that the U.S. Reserve is not really ours, that it's backed up by the Vatican. I don't know how true that is. Again, I don't claim to be a political historian, a political or know-it-all. But if the U.S. Reserve is not ours, it's not. What's going on? If you got other countries banding together to not deal with the euro and the dollar, what is going on? How is this all going to work on the grand scheme of things? Yeah, while we want certain things to fall, how is this going to fall into place? How is this going to work with the average Joe? Because the Cash App is like the little people. Cash App is really it's almost anything right now is Cash Appable. I know that's not a word, but it is. Just like a PayPal and Zelle and Venmo. It's easier to do that than it is to go to your bank and do business that way. So people, I don't know if we're all getting the whole scope of this, but that man was taken out for something else bigger to come through, because that app was doing a lot. It was doing stocks. It was doing Bitcoin. It was doing tax returns, all on Cash App, all within the 5 year. I don't know when Cash App was established, but do your history on these Bitcoins. These big CEO guys, women, have been mysteriously taken out off the playing field. They've been taken off the board for something else to come, something bigger to come in. And if we're not scratching our heads and thinking that's then some of us are on sleepy time. But that's all right, because it's not for everybody to wake up. They talked about these prophecies. They talked about the book Behold the Pale Horse, things like that. We've heard these narratives play out. Also, last thing I'm gonna leave us on is we're coming up on the 100, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. On the 111, 111 of the sinking of the Titanic, April 14th or April 12th, 1911. So it's like 100 plus years. Rumor has it that there were big bankers, Astor and them, that were on the Titanic. Rumor also has it, well, not rumor, because you can look to see, yes, there was Astor on their roster. But the little people didn't want to deal with the big conglomerates. And Astors are US, are UK. That's euro and dollars. So they're big powerhouses. And like I said, rumor has it that I think it was oh my God, his name is escaping me right now. JP Morgan, big banker, Chase Bank here in the States. His family line, somebody tipped them off and they missed the ship. So they didn't get on that fateful day. Rumor also has it, if you're going into the conspiracy, that really wasn't a glacier. Because they kept talking about it's unsinkable. Then they're saying that was another ship. And put the Titanic on. Listen, there's so many plot twists to that situation. And it was on its way to New York. And almost coincidentally, as soon as it gets closer to New York, it hits a glacier and then sinks. Gee, I don't know what that sounds like, but that sounds very similar to 2009, September 9th, 2001. That sounds like everything you can think of that sounds like a conspiracy. That sounds almost like, wow, they did this to us. It's the sleight of the hands. It's you don't see what I'm doing. You don't know what I'm doing. Again, it's not a concrete evidence to say that there was a bigger scheme or plan or plot to sink the Titanic. But why we keep resurrecting that ghost? Why we keep resurrecting the dead? They just had a 25th anniversary of Jane Cameron's The Titanic. And I was watching it because I always found that story very fascinating. And it's sad because they always subconsciously inverted. Remember in the 1980s, I think it was 84, they had a shipwreck crew go down to see the wreckage. So from that point, then you had James Cameron in the mid-90s do this whole big drama melody, Titanic, that won Grammys after Grammys. And now he's got a 25th anniversary of that, and going back to when he went down to see the Titanic to get his research. But also going back to the 1984 when the first crew went down to see this Titanic. As bad as Pearl Harbor. Churchill. I mean, he knew that was going down. December 5th. What was it, 1945? I don't know. Don't quote me on the years. But it's World War. Come on, this is stuff that it's like they give us these narratives to implant it in our head to feel a certain kind of way. But when you start digging, that's dangerous. When you start digging and common sense starts to kick in, how is that what? Somebody knew about something but waited a little longer for things to happen and then, now we're going to jump in and help you? When all along, come on. Let's don't play stupid. Please don't play stupid. So again, it's that anniversary in April. We're in April right now. This month is a high holy month, as they call it, right? Because we got Ramadan, Passover, and the Christian holiday, Easter. Today's Good Friday. So all the Christians are being good today. They're not eating meat. Whatever. I'm not here to bash anybody. I'm just saying that this month has a lot of people going into their spiritual bag, their religious bag. So don't think for a moment that energy is not uh, uh bubbling, right? You got a full moon, eclipse season is coming up. We've been hit since, I want to say, 2016, 17 with a lot of celestial alignments. Do I believe in some of that stuff? Yes. But then I have to question, how do we really know if that stuff is out there? I mean, they keep showing us. This is what I'm saying. They've been implanting a lot of stuff subconsciously for a very long time. We've been in an indoctrination, if you will, of just watching TV and the news, to have plant us in our subconscious of, oh my goodness, how do I remember that the Titanic is April 12th? Like, that's what I'm like, it's embedded. It's in the subconscious. And if you're old enough, you'll remember certain events that hit you a certain kind of way, because you're like, wow. Like 9/11, people, I know exactly where I was at. I know where I was at. I know what I was doing, right? That's embedded in your subconscious for the rest of your life, if you're old enough to have been around at that time. After that, everything has become mainstream. It's still not a shock and awe as it was with that. That was the biggest, almost, it was like on the scale of a Hiroshima. It was on the scale of a Titanic. 9/11. It was like that incredible, oh my goodness, this just happened on a huge scale. So now they're gearing us to, oh, that's not, nothing is phasing us now. And I'm like, nah, man, this BRICS thing got me. The Cash App thing, it's not, it's on that scale, but it's not because it's murderous, if you will. It doesn't hit certain people the way it would like a 9/11, like a Hiroshima, like a Titanic, because people are not dying that you don't see. But this BRICS thing is big stuff. It's big stuff. And all I want to say is that all roads lead back home. One way or another, the cookie trail, the breadcrumb trail traces back. And this is why they cut off a lot of people. They delete a lot of people who start. That's why I said digging is a little dangerous. You start to get to learn some stuff, you are a problem. And especially if you start talking about it. But I mean, and then they're going to say, well, it's conspiracy. So it's conspiracy. You just do the math. You figure it out. If it's not making sense, then chances are that's not the right thing. If you're looking at it, well, maybe, could be, there's a small margin for the exception to the rule. There's a small margin. But like I said, these people are not playing that type of game. They don't care what skin color you are. If you have the resources, we're doing business with you. That's it. And I'm like, that's why I'm scratching my head. Like, India? Like, they straight up disrespect India. And India, Sri Lanka, that's like, there's certain parts there that's like third world. But now they signing up to do the backing with Russia? Come on. When you hear about countries that you don't really, or continents and things like that, when you're not really hearing about them, and then all of a sudden and they've been doing this for like a year now. South Africa is going to host Russia in August with this BRICS. And people are talking about, oh, let it burn. Okay. I mean, there's the Most High, and, we got to pray, and, we got to think positive and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, as I said earlier, I'm the realist. I'm the pessimist. Like, no, it's not sounding too good. Because it's not hitting us right away, but your generation is, your children and their children to come are going to be affected. And you're not going to be around here to help them. So we're living in the hot moment. People are doing the sturdy and they getting jiggy and all this stuff, and they happy, and United States is looking like a joke. You're not a big boy no more. They're letting you know that. You're a big boy within your own little universe. But when you're on a larger scale, you're nothing. If you don't got the Neros and the peso, not even the peso, because Mexico's not involved. But if you're not in those 18 states that's taking the rupees, and you're not doing the yuan, China's currency, as they say, you're washed up. You're washed. United States is looking like a joke. All you can offer is dance moves and comedy. You're a joke. The world is looking at you, and you're a stage. You are entertainment. You are food for these people. You got South African kids. You got Africans knowing about drill rap. Where that's coming from? Chicago, Brooklyn, New York. How do they know about that stuff? They wasn't talking like that. They're not doing the dance moves. They're not doing the rap stuff. They weren't doing none of that stuff. We set the stage. And then the lockdown happened. And other countries they pulled themselves by the bootstraps and figured out some things. And now you got BRICS happening. You got Brazil, the acronyms for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa joining together. While we were talking about, we all in this together, and we're banging pans and saluting the doctors and the nurses. These people are finessing, opening up stuff back up and saying, listen, forget about United States. Their currency is garbage. The euro is nothing. Nada. It's nothing. And, I like a few laughs, sure. Entertainment, I like it. But we're doing TikToks. We're doing crate challenges. We're doing the Chris Brown dance steps. We're doing all this stuff and showing them. Meanwhile, what are their children doing? Listen, China's not doing the LGBT thing. India, they just put a ban out on that too. Last night I was scrolling through Instagram, and I saw as a matter of fact, an Indian platform. They had I don't know if he's cross-dresser, but it was a black guy with eyelashes, his hair in ponytails, and he's sachet Shantae. And the ad libs are somebody's laughing, but it's got like Hindi language and stuff on it. I'm like, yo, We're comedy at this point. They and then we thinking that Marvel and Wakanda is real. Putting on your African garbs and you're going paying $20, almost $100 for your family to go see Wakanda. When South Africa is doing business with Russia, you think that they care? You putting on your little fancy clothes and trying to look like them? Meanwhile, some of them are running around here making business deals with other companies, with other countries. I don't want to diss. I don't want. It's not a diss. Like it's sounding like a diss, but I'm like, damn. Like, when are we gonna get for real? Because this is some serious stuff. Believe it or not, this is some real. Whoa, we gotta look at the receipts. This man was just taken off the playing field on Tuesday. The Cash App founder for the Feds, the U.S. Reserve, to come in and say they're going to put something in place called Fed Now. The U.S. Federal Reserve, backed by the military. Don't you see that? Don't you hear that? That sounds weird. United States got the biggest military stronghold. Who do you think was showing the Israelis? Who do you think was showing them how to do stuff? Come on. That's what I'm saying. Roads lead back home. But we're busy on TikTok doing challenges and doing dance steps and telling jokes that you got other countries wanting to emulate and imitate, not knowing that their country is doing business behind your back. But we still want to do the South African thing. I don't know how that's going to work out. The Federal Reserve's currency, trying to get to South Africa when they're not looking at your US dollar. I don't know how that's going to work out. Again, I'm not a financial person, expertise. I'm not a political historian. I'm not that kind of person. I'm just the average Joe trying to figure it out and trying to make it make sense to me. Like, how does this really work then? Because you got Black Africans really on some Pan-African, like that's a real thing for some people. And I'm not saying nothing about that. If that's what people choose to do, fine. But we have to fit the pieces together and say, okay, you're going to do Pan-Africa, and South Africa, who was under apartheid until the mid-'80s, is joining with Russia. They're doing business with China. They're doing business with India. I've never heard within my 40 years of knowledge, hearing anything with India regarding finances. That's a bit alarming. Okay. But again, on the flip side, this can all, it might look like a good thing in hindsight. But the alarming thing is that they're looking at the US dollar and the euro like it's nothing. So I don't know how that is going to play out in the grand scheme of things. I don't know if I'll be here, in that lifetime to see it. But this is an implementation that they want to do. Things have to be sorted out before all this can really go and take place. So it's not. They are moving light speeds, but it's not really something that is going to go into full effect. And like I said, our generation to come and the generation after that are going to see the ramifications of all this trying to do it if they don't pull and resource together here in the States. If they don't do that, and they're still trying to use the US dollar to do other currency abroad, that's going to be an issue for the generation to come. But I thank you guys for stopping by. Again, this week I will not be as active as, well, I haven't been active on here as much as I should be, but I'll try to just put some stuff out, videos, and put some stuff in the community section, and also on the FULLMOON premieres. Probably just do some shorts and community section again, because time is constriction. We're on spring break here, so my time is, I'm not as available to do the lives as possible, but I figured today I was going to be able to, and that's why I came on today to just discuss these things, make us think of the seriousness of it, not to scare us and not to think, oh my gosh, it's doom and gloom, but question everything. If we take it on face value, it's going to be no biggie. But if we're using our common sense and we're just like, okay, we need to be aware, then that's at best the best thing you can do is be aware. Being prepared is another thing. It's called for you to be resourceful and financial. I'm speaking to the average Joe. I'm not speaking to the person who's at a certain tax bracket that they could afford certain things. I'm talking about the person that's probably living paycheck to paycheck, and that's not living off the grid. That's in the hood. How do we figure this out? Because those are the people that are going to be affected. It's the haves and the have-nots. They've already showed us that they're eliminating the middle class. So it's either you have it or you don't. And India was one of those countries. And now India is going to be on the we got it. That's why I'm just like scratching my head. Like, what? India? And I like Hindu culture. I've always had a infatuation with the Hindi culture. I think it's beautiful. I definitely believe, I love the spirituality of their culture. And I love their jewelry. I love their the women's. I love their clothing. So I'm just like, whoa, India's about to do some big things. And kudos to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be like, listen, I mean, we're doing business. And let's be for real. How much stuff in your house is made by China that you're not even consciously thinking? Are you going to say, no, I'm not having nothing in my house that's made from China? Okay, good luck with that. Because mostly everything is imported, comes here, and you're using it. 90% of it, it's not made in America. And that's where America is going to have to be resilient and reliant on itself. We're going to have to go back to the basics, and that's going to be the struggle. That's where the hardships come in. That's where either you make it or you don't comes in, because you're going to have to get yourselves up by the bootstraps and really work, because the currency thing is a different bracket. You're going to have to get back into some manual labor, especially when it comes to agriculture. Yes, technology's moved in, and they have robots and things like that. But let me say this: when those robots break down, who has to come in and fix it? When your computer crashes, who's booting it back up? Another computer, or you, the human computer? You're fixing it. So that's why I'm like, it's not all doom and gloom. And maybe the United States needs this kick in the behind to feel, listen, you've been doing this for too long. You've been comfortable. You've been living off the riches of other people. So, hey, I see why people are saying, let it fall. But be careful. Be careful what you ask for. Because you might be the one that's hit the hardest. And just because you don't agree with this, as long as you're living on these soils in the United States, and you got your birth certificate, and you haven't changed your paperwork to become sovereign, you're still a citizen, and you still got to comply with their rules and regulations. So I miss me with I'm not. As long as you still got that social and you got that birth certificate tied to them, you are still chattel in here. You got to do the taxes. If you don't do the taxes, guess what? Who's coming for you? Uncle Sam. The U.S. Federal Reserve is tying into that. Get it? Get it? So I'm like, the full moon, the balance of the scales. The ties are coming in and they're going out. All right. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. Have a great holiday, a weekend. Stay blessed up, stay prayed up. Don't forget to drink your water, eat your fruits and vegetables. Health is wealth. My big cat. Love you guys. Peace out. Catch you on the flip side. Yeah, see, guys, I'm sorry. I didn't see your notification, Maybach. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I love you guys. Thank you, my Lotus. All right, guys. Peace. Salute.